It seems that 2023 was when the video game industry finally put the pandemic in the past. It's been a year of innovative games that push the envelope with a wide scope and sleek graphics style. From much debated releases to long-awaited remasters and remakes, this year's had everyone busy. But there's one game that had me giddy, the only one I marked on the calendar, a game so unpopular it flew under most people's radar. Fashion Dreamer is a Nintendo Switch release that's all about creating interesting outfits. That is the only objective. There are two ways to do this. You can style them from items you have in your stock, or you can design them from a template. The online multiplayer is very simple as well. You find another player, see what they prefer, and create an outfit that suits their taste. Likewise, other people can make outfits they think you will enjoy. The game runs on a currency of likes and followers, although in truth, they're just numbers. But what seems to rub people the wrong way is the marketing. It may not have had much, but what we did here revolved around calling the player an influencer.
Here, you'll aim to become a stylish influencer. Suggest new outfits for them to grow as an influencer.
But in this game, you're not really an influencer. You're not much of a personality either. Followers and likes are just how you measure milestones, like leveling in an RPG. The game rolls credits when you reach 10k followers. But to say that you have influence over any of their lifestyles, that's quite the stretch. To me, there are much more sinister aspects to the fashion world than what we've got on display here. Fashion Dreamer is the spiritual successor to the style-savvy games, called New Style Boutique in Europe. In those games, you equally create looks from varied garments and try to make people happy with your choices. But if the name is anything to go by, the aim is to run a successful apparel shop. Those games, as much as I love them, present fashion as a product, one for easy and fast consumption. They highlight the capitalist side of fashion. This is nowhere to be seen in Fashion Dreamer. Here, you lose the unquestioned acceptance of capitalism in the arts, but gain instead a system of social networking. I wonder which is worse. In my own life, fashion has played a pivotal role. Believe it or not, I used to be a very uncool teenager. Half of my wardrobe came from Think Geek, and I wore Bazinga t-shirts fully unironically. In my first uni, people didn't know me by name, they knew me by that dude who's always barefoot. It was honestly tragic. But when I started film school here in London, I turned that ship around. By the second year, through admission of most of my peers, I was the most popular guy in my class. And what everyone credited my success to, including myself, was my sense of style. I went from desperate pleas for attention to feeling comfortable leading the conversation. Now, don't get me wrong, I was never part of any in-group. There's a difference between wanting to be seen by people who are like-minded and being part of a clique. Herbs, Sims in the City is a 2004 spin-off of the popular Sims franchise. The plot of the game is that your created character moves into a new city and is forced to navigate all the different social demographics and lifestyles. You do this by hanging out where they do, behaving like them, and dressing to fit in. One wins the game by being accepted into every social group. Herbs is not a game about popularity, it's a game about clout. Playing the clout game has to be done strategically. Wanting to be seen is natural. We want our efforts to be recognized. But what you present should be a reflection of yourself, not the people around you. To be fair though, that is easier said than done. Self-discrepancy theory is the idea that there are two versions of you, the actual real self and the ideal self. The latter is a nebulous concept made from the values you deem worthy, born from a system of what you think should be worthy of praise and what should be admonished. It paints with wide brushstrokes, covering weight, physical attractiveness, and the charisma we expect ourselves to have. It's one thing to be motivated to improve, but the problem arises when we believe we are fully in control of our appearance and our bodies. Doing this demands extreme body surveillance. The more we survey ourselves, the more we are aware of the difference between our actual selves and our idealized selves. Like a self-fulfilling prophecy, this leads to a wider gap between them and a longer period of dissatisfaction. As we see in herbs, we enhance the status of a group by curating a collective aesthetic. Clothing can communicate our belonging to a certain social circle and also be used as a symbol. Intentionally or not, our clothes place us into certain social groups and alienate us from others. Sometimes we may join groups as means of self-enhancement, to nurture an aspect of our lives that we wish to explore further. Groups may have a uniform, and our success in that group can be signified by how well we adopt the style and rules and behavior. Here is a really basic example. I am a man. I know I'm male. I believe it. So to convey this, I am going to latch on to male signifiers. I wear shirts like these, I have big muscles, I have facial hair, kind of. None of these are inherently male traits, but socially we've decided that when they go together, they kind of are. I want you to see me as a man. When we are communicating and I notice you treating me like a man, maybe using he, him pronouns, then I'll know I have been successful at portraying masculinity.
This is my Drago cosplay. Welcome.
I want you to think of me as a man. You think, therefore I am. Obviously nowadays there are much more complex takes on gender, ones that put less focus on how we come across to other people and instead center on how our lived experiences give shape to our knowledge of the world. But I do think most of the world still operates under this philosophy of gender aesthetics. At least for now. This is the reason I think there's such a strong mask for mask culture in the gay community.
I'm gay, but I'm not a cliché. I'm not a shopaholic. I'm not always clubbing. I don't like fashion. I just happen to be a man who likes men.
I love this picture. It's so funny. Historically, gay men have had our masculinity questioned, if not outright rejected. So it makes sense there be an interest in cultivating an unshakable sense of masculinity. Men usually evaluate themselves in manners other than appearance, such as sexual prowess, athletic ability, strength, all that. This is then reflected in the chosen partners. Obviously, you wouldn't go for anyone who would threaten your sense of masculinity, but this goes a step further. People choose someone who they can project their aesthetic ideas onto and have them reflected right back. I also think this is why there are so many gay couples where they look like twins. And on the flip side, you get slogans that belittle other gender expressions. Obviously, you like who you like, and you shouldn't be shamed for that. But to systematically tag these people as others and rob them of their masculinity, well, now you're just part of the problem. It's unsurprising that there's such a focus on mental health these days. Thanks to social media, we have an infinite feedback loop with other people, which puts our sense of self and self-worth under constant scrutiny. Whereas before, people lived in mostly isolated spheres of influence, we are now more connected to each other. We can more readily witness each other's lives and cast judgment. We live as if we constantly had a mirror held up to us, almost like a black mirror. While fashion may seem superficial to some, to others it can reflect the true depths of human self-awareness. Modern culture, being so driven by aesthetics, influences us to adopt an observer's view of our own bodies. Know your angle, find your light. Be aware of how you're coming across. I swear we live in such a schizophrenic world, dude. Damn. We are encouraged to see our bodies as representations of ourselves, a set of codes and symbols, ready to be consumed by the observer. We know which parameters we want to be judged by, and our physical image is the most readily available way we can nudge people in the right direction. You only get one chance to make a first impression, and often it's the one that sticks with people. Fashion is not everything, but it can sure open doors for you. It did for me. For how admittedly superficial fashion is, its most powerful potential lies in changing minds, not appearances. American psychologist Martin Seligman noted that happier people were those who relied on strengths they had identified within themselves. Things such as empathy, determination, temperance, creativity. That is the ideal you. Something that is already inside of you and needs to be nurtured, not something outside that's forever out of reach. Don't buy wholesale into glow-up narratives. We love to see people progress and become more confident, but there is no pressure to grow. Be proud and be humble too. What else? Don't buy fast fashion. Be responsible with your clothing choices. Be honest about who you are. And play Fashion Dreamer. Go make some outfits that'll make people happy. What a fantastic gameplay mechanic.